Welcome to Proof Live, where booze brands in the right hands. On a quest for the best tipple and toast with the most exciting and respected bottlings. Competing for the 100-point Perfect Score Century Award and the double gold and a spot on the top shelf to be sipped, shaken, stirred, and celebrated. Slide up to the bar with the biggest names in the spirits game as they clink glasses with your hostess, legendary connoisseur Jennifer English, for intimate conversations, live tastings, product launches, and the happiest hour there is. Now, broadcasting live from the commodious confines of the swanky Proof Saloon, where the liquid elite meet. Here is your hostess, the Madam of Manhattans, the Duchess of Daiquiris, the Queen of Conviviality, your hostess, James Beard Award winner, Jennifer English.
Look at that gorgeous bottle, and let's go to Texas. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Proof Saloon. I'm Jennifer English. I'm your hostess, and I'm going to get right into it. I haven't been this excited to talk to a new friend in the spirits game in a long time. There are so many parallel tracks that I feel like I've been traveling along with our guest today. Markus Kypreos is the founder of Blackland Distilling, and they've got a full range of gorgeous sips. But today we're talking about the Proof Awards, and we're coming up on the 2020 Proof Awards. And this is something that's going to join us on our top shelf. The Blackland Gin, aromatic, perfumed, ginny, and wonderful. We're going to talk to the inspiration source for this, the craftsman behind it. And I'm really thrilled that you're here to join us today. Welcome to the CEO and founder of Blackland Distilling, Markus Kypreos. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I am so excited to meet you, and we should tell everybody you're in a chef's coat right now. And I love that you are representing an entire range and realm of culinary talent that is beginning to respect the role that spirits play in the complete and composite hospitality picture. You know, we can't bifurcate things as much anymore, and you are literally on the leading edge of integrating, food and drink. I want to talk to you about the fact that you're in a chef's coat today and talk a little bit about Blackland and how it's so food friendly. And I'm going to give you the first word by saying, how did you get into the spirits game?
Great. Well, thanks for having me on, first of all. And second, this was not purposeful. I was actually just on the floor cooking, and I was going to take it off and get dressed up. But this is emblematic of what we do here, in the sense that I went to culinary school. I graduated from culinary school. When I started to learn to distill, when I went to a number of spirit schools across the country, it was clear to me that distilling was cooking. It was the very same base as cooking. Right. And that's the point of view that we have here. And so whether we're cooking grain or fermenting grain or distilling grain, or we're infusing those botanicals, or we're aging it in wood and finishing it, all of that to me is the very same process as cooking. And that's essentially how I got into this. To answer your question, was I was an attorney for 15 years practicing. Then at night I went to culinary school. Then after culinary school, I had an interest in wine, which is natural with food because you start to learn about wine pairings. And then I studied and passed my introductory exam through the Master Court of Sommeliers. And part of the sommelier exam is distilled spirits. And so through that, I became more interested in distilled spirits. And then I went to all of these schools, then came back, put a business plan together, built a distillery, left my firm, and here we are.
I love that you were able to give me that brief. Let's talk a little bit about something that I want to make sure we focus on today, because we're going to get to the bottling, the spirit, the branding. But you're in Texas, and this sort of sense of Blackland and the legend of Blackland, and how the role that nature's phoenix-like quality is at the root of this. how the place matters to not only the terroir of what you are distilling with and from, but how it sort of imbues every aspect of what you're doing there. Will you talk about how important your place in Blackland in Texas is?
So yeah, I love the name initially just because it's the ecoregion that we're in, which there's 7 ecoregions in Texas, and the Blackland Prairie runs north of Fort Worth down to San Antonio. It's a big area. And its name came from hundreds of years ago. There were frequent wildfires that caused the soil to turn this dark gray and black. And I really liked the idea of that because this charring was essentially how, if you ever look at the inside of a barrel, this is where when we age our spirit, especially on our whiskeys, we get the color and the flavor, and it's a big part of the characteristic of the whiskey. And so it all tied in together with me in terms of the name, but more specifically to your question, and this is not surprising, but I've sort of just seen this lately, like Texas is pretty new to the distilling world compared to other places, right? And I'm just going to tell you the way I see the tea leaves going, just like everything in Texas, it's going to turn into Texas versus everyone else. And that's not a political statement. That's just when you're here in Texas, that's how everyone is and believes that it's almost its own country in a way. And I think there's a lot of criticism of the whiskey here because it's so young. And even now to an extent that North Texas is different than South Texas is different than West and East. And I think you're really going to see that play out. And so the location and the soil and everything about this region was important to me.
One of the things that you were describing as you told the tale of how you awakened with that deliberate culinary appreciation for what you were sipping to go along with the foods you were learning about in culinary school is that I heard that integrative passion for pairing, and how it seems as though you were naturally becoming someone who was pairing spirits the way people pair wines with foods. Do you think that, and I'm going to jump ahead and help answer this question. I think this is an extremely food-friendly gin. But I want you to talk about the fact, is that actually something that you endeavored to do, was to make food-friendly spirits, to particularly go with the cuisines that are sort of naturally happening in Texas right now?
I mean, I wish I could say that that was my intent originally, but I was so focused on the spirit. Now that we've made 4 great spirits, I will say we do a lot of dinners, a lot of paired dinners. And I think a lot of restaurants, and really nice restaurants, have started to buy in more so than ever before on these. Let's do a cocktail pairing dinner. And then you can really sit down and be creative, right? With these individual cocktails and the foods that we have here. And it's also a great relationship builder in that sense too, because before it usually was wine pairing, and maybe some microbreweries have come along and done some beer things, and I think you're a little bit more limited there. But the cocktail is so versatile that you can do so much with it. And certainly from my chef background, that's allowed us to open the doors. And a lot of people, whenever I go into a place, will say, whether even at a liquor store level or the bar level or the restaurant level, that vision is hard. In anything, vision is hard. And everyone says, well, what can I do with this? What drink can I make? What can I pair with this? And it's been so helpful for me, again, to have the culinary background. And also I rely heavily on my bar staff, because I've got a great mixology team here, which is because of what we do. So all of that together, again, is all based on the cooking background.
And I have to say, if this is that marvelous, famous Texas serendipity, then there you go. I want to talk about this beautiful gin, and this is what we're highlighting today, because to me, this is something very special. We're going to do some tasting the way they will in the Proof Awards using the neat glass. And most of us are so familiar with enjoying the gins that exist in the marketplace today, in cocktails and in preparations, that we miss the opportunity to discover the true beauty and the hand of the maker in the gin itself. And the thing about the Proof Awards and using the neat glass is that when you get a really beautiful clean pour like this, the glass is designed to showcase. It's like really and truly putting the most beautiful frame around the painting that you've made for us. So I'm going to let you talk us through the process of enjoying this and discovering the Blackland gin. And of course, we're going to start with your training in the Court of Master Sommeliers with our eyes, using all our senses, and then the sniff. Will you tell us how to optimize our introduction to Blackland gin?
Sure, I'd love to. I've never done this, but this is exciting, first of all. Second of all, let me just say as a background that I got into distilling for whiskey because that's what I drank a lot. But this is all I drink now is our gin. If you ever see me around the distillery and in the tasting room, I'm always drinking the gin. Subjectively, it's our best spirit. And that's not to say that our whiskeys and our vodka aren't great. They are. But the gin is special. And we converted a lot of people who will often come in and say, I don't really like gin, to become gin customers. And more, we have to put more and more gin cocktails in our tasting room on the cocktail menu just because of the popularity. One of the problems is with gin is for every 10 bottles of bourbon I make, I will sell 1 bottle of gin.
Wow. That's
just the customer base, especially in Texas. But as we branch out and as people taste our gin and then we get in more bars and restaurants, we're seeing quite a bit of an increase. So,
can I just stop you there for 1 second? To make this, I don't want to make this too conversational, but that's a very fascinating point. Do you feel like there's a real educational opportunity with the gin that might not exist with other brown spirits?
Absolutely. Because I think it's what people are brought up on and what people are used to and what people have grabbed, whether we go all the way back to high school and college of what we're supposed to drink or what they have been presented with. And gin is often not in that conversation.
When you decided to produce a gin, what did you have in your mind as the target, that inspiration flavor? Because what I know about master sommeliers, you have incredible sense memories and you have ideas very specifically about what something's supposed to taste like. What were you dreaming of when you dreamed up Blackland gin?
Well, I think one of the complaints you hear a lot, especially from Americans who drink gin, is that the juniper is overwhelming. Mm-hmm. Because for something to be gin, you know this, but maybe others don't. For something to be gin in this country, it has to be at least 51% juniper. And most of the gins you're tasting are 80, 90% juniper.
Wow.
It's juniper forward. This is it's that piney type floral taste that you would have on the front of your palate, and it's undeniable. So first and foremost, it was how do I get over that? But knowing that the juniper is still going to dominate the palate because it's the nature of gin. Then one of the other problems I had was that American gins, to combat this, tend to be very citrusy. I have found. So that's what we do in America. It's like, oh, we have a lot of juniper. We'll still keep a lot of juniper, but we're going to flood your palate with citrus. And that can be nice. That can be nice if you're just sipping or something. But it also, I found, was not balanced. And so for me, my number one goal was not a person. My number one goal was not like a market. My number one goal was how can I make a gin that is very well balanced, that is not overly citrusy or overly floral, that appeals to the masses and that I like to drink.
You just described the word irresistible.
Well, I mean, I appreciate that compliment. I do love our gin. Again, I do drink it quite a bit.
and it is special.
Thank you.
Let's do this.
Yeah, let's do it.
Origin tasting. So here we have the fruits of your labors.
Yes. So I think just looking at it, it's a very clean gin. I think a lot of people, when they distill, we can, not to get into the weeds of the leaving in the heads and the tails and the esters. And this, I would say that this is a very clean gin, very close on the base spirit, almost to a vodka, but not quite that clean. And that's the clarity you'll see there. And then We use 12 botanicals. By the way, I'm very transparent about everything I do here because I always say, if you want to build and open up a distillery and compete with us, by all means, please go ahead. It's really hard. The other thing I would say is, yeah, there's a lot of juniper. That's what you're going to smell on the nose initially.
And I just want to make sure we show the legs. I mean, I realize with a transparent spirit, but you can, the glass is, the crystal's so clear you can actually see it. If I hope you can catch that.
And let me just say too, on that point, and I'm glad you're taking me through it deliberately. So that base is a 100% red winter wheat. And I like the wheat base, and we use it for our vodka as well, just because it has a little bit more body to it. And that goes back to the legs you were saying.
Yeah.
I think you can make a great corn vodka, and that's predominantly in America. It's corn and corn base for a lot of gins, but it's just a little too thin for me. And it's just preferential. That's more traditional. And I think that's great on the gin, and I think that's where it really shines.
And I want to just point out that it's been my experience and my observation that wheat does something to make the clear spirits more food friendly. It softens them. It makes them a little bit more gently voluptuous to really give that companion experience to the bite. It provides a sip that feels and tastes more food friendly.
Yeah, I would agree with all of that. And I think a lot of that also has to do with coating the mouth a little bit thicker than the vodka, or than a corn based, if you will.
And so now where do we go next?
So after we've looked at it, I mean, I'd be fascinated to hear what you smell, but I mean, certainly the juniper is going to dominate the nose in this scenario. It just is. It is on all the gins. And actually I have some right here. But just because I said that I didn't want it dominated by citrus doesn't mean that there's not a lot of citrus in there.
So for me, I'm going to go to the world of music. And the entirety of the background music of the Blackland gin chord of flavor, the background music is the juniper. But the different notes in the chord, which are complex, it's not just a little 2-note or 3-note chord. It's a full 5-note chord of experience. And so it really brings you into a much more complex place. But but it's clearly in the key of juniper.
It is. And I would just say that when we're also looking at gins and making generalizations, I would say a lot of gins are 5 to 6 botanicals.
Did you just say generalizations?
Yes. Not purposely.
I love that. That's so awesome. We're gonna use that.
So
that's awesome.
5 to 6 botanicals in an everyday gin. Now, of course, there are some like the Botanist, which use 20 plus and put them on their put every botanical on the bottle. But we ended up using 12, and again, that was just because we made iteration after iteration after iteration, trying hundreds of different pairings and botanicals, and eventually this is where we felt it was the most balanced. And so I would say of those 12 botanicals, 4 of them are earthy, 4 of them are citrus, and then another 4 are sort of florally. And that's really where I keep using the word balance, because you want to have all of those elements. And then together, when they work together, we also, just because of the distillation process, I would say I like to characterize the gin as being muted down. It is a big nose with a soft finish. It is not an aggressive, overly juniper flavor on the palate. You can taste it all, but it's not going to be popping off your tongue. It's not going to be, oh, wow, this is really zesty, or this is very lemony, or you'll taste it. But the entire spirit is meant to sort of be muted down so that you can enjoy it.
So we're running. I could talk to you all day, and we're running short on time. We're going to take a break for a very quick commercial, and when we come back, we're going to give this a taste.
Okay.
Need a push getting your spirits, wine, or beverage brand into the hands of consumers? Interested in winning medals like a double gold award? Proof Awards 2020, the ultimate beverage competition, can help jumpstart your brand into the hands of beverage buyers. Enter the Proof Awards. Be a part of the Proof Awards marketing campaign with our partner, Food and Beverage Magazine. All of our judges are buyers, and that's what sets our awards program apart from the others. Our judges head the beverage programs for restaurants, bars, nightclubs, casinos, liquor stores, big box retail, and national wine and spirits distributors. Your brand will be tasted by buyers from more than 15 states across the U.S. We have hundreds of categories to choose from at www.proofawards.com. Be seen by 12 million readers with our partner, Food and Beverage Magazine. Get tasted and rated by buyers. The 2020 Proof Awards competition is open for spirits, wine, and beverage brands today. Proof Awards 2020, moving brands into the marketplace. www.proofawards.com.
Our guest is Markus Kypreos. He's the founder of Blackland Distilling. He's brought us the very special Blackland gin. When he said it was special, he wasn't joking. Of course, it's his baby, so he has to say that. But it's not mine, and I have to share with you, this is right up my alley. I really adore everything about this because, to me, this belongs in the encyclopedia under lovely gin. In sniffing, I get some wonderful notes of grasses. And it's going to sound funny to say these things, but I get a tiny bit of geranium. And there's, of course, a citrus note. But more than anything else, the complexity of this is it's woven in a very sophisticated, delicious, irresistible way. And I keep coming back to that word, irresistible. This is just an irresistible gin. Markus is going to take us through a brief tasting now. And as he does, I'm going to remind everybody that they can go to the proofawards.com website and get more information about the Proof Awards. And if you want to learn more about Blackland Distilling, you can go to blacklandfw.com. Markus, what are we going to do next?
Well, I think you just, after you've smelled it, we take the sip. And again, on the front of your palate, you'll taste that juniper first and foremost. And then what I really taste is, and it's because I've drank it so much, is a lot of the citrus, which is grapefruit peel, it's lemon peel, and then.
And do you choose ingredients? You know, that whole idea of if it grows together, it goes together. Are you trying to stay localized to Texas products, or did you endeavor to find the loveliest things you could find from anywhere? What was the?
It's a great question because we wanted to do all Texas at first, just because all of our grains come from Texas, right?
But isn't that the creator's conundrum?
Yes, because it also has to be available, and it has to be so that you can continue to produce it. And Texas juniper was very difficult to find, unfortunately. And so we source all of our botanicals except for juniper from Texas, which of course is the majority of the gin. But I don't feel bad about it. We're making it all from grain to glass. So if I have to get it from out of the state, so be it. One day I'll be able to.
Before we say goodbye and congratulations, and most of all, thank you, I wondered if you would conclude with the last word. Do you have a house toast for Blackland? And do you have the same toast for each spirit? Or does each spirit get its own toast?
I don't have a house toast for any of my spirits, but that's a great idea. I'm going to start to come up with one now.
Can I work with you? Can I collaborate with you on that? Because I've been inspired by meeting you and sharing this with you.
I'm so glad.
So I'm gonna raise the glass and say, Markus Kypreos in Blackland, thank you so much for being here with us today. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you. I had a great time.
Whether you are thinking about becoming a restaurateur or you are already in the business, Michael Politz has written a must-read, The Food and Beverage Magazine's Guide to Restaurant Success. Pick up your copy today at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Books A Million, or wherever